Welcome to another daily roundup of Russian Telegram chatter. Your like and subscribe to my channel would really be appreciated. Subscription is free and it only takes a moment of your time. I monitor and translate Russian Telegram chat channels as a general mood check, so you don't have to. Remember, please do your own research and be wary of propaganda and disinformation, which occurs frequently in Russian chat, especially when there is bad news for Russians concerning the country's illegal and genocidal war in Ukraine. The images used in the video are for illustration purposes only. They do not necessarily represent the issues or translations. And finally, please note, the chat is unverified, and I do not endorse the views expressed. Right, let's get on with it. On Telegram today, Putin's mentor, Alexander Dugin, proposed to begin ideological purges among scientists. Sounds familiar? Has history not taught Russians anything? The conservative philosopher and ideologist of the Russian world, Alexander Dugin, published a survey by Russian Field about attitudes towards the SVO, according to which 85% of scientists are opponents of the SVO. The SVO is a misleading description of the war being waged in Ukraine. The main problem we have in science is, he said, almost completely occupied by enemy territory. The first line, I appeal to you. Is it really not clear which line needs to be attacked first, he said. Time to eradicate scientists in the next phase of the empire plan. Antibiotics containing the substance roxithromycin, as well as drugs containing azithromycin, clarithromycin, and erythromycin, have disappeared from pharmacies in a third of Russia's regions. These antibiotics are part of the main line prescribed by doctors. Experts emphasize that in some cases the drugs are irreplaceable. For example, clarithromycin is needed to treat Helicobacter pylori, which causes gastritis and ulcers, and has no analogues. The younger generation of Russians suffers from chronic diseases en masse. According to the study Social Aspects of Population Health, in which students were surveyed, 46% of girls and 43.3% of young men indicated having a chronic disease. Girls were more likely to have digestive system diseases at 58.3%, respiratory diseases at 25.3%, and nervous system and sensory organs issues at 23%. Among boys, respiratory diseases at 34% and digestive organs issues at 33% were the most common. In addition, 53% of respondents had dental and oral pathology. Russian companies have begun to actively complain about a shortage of workers, despite record low unemployment, said Alexei Zabotkin, deputy chairman of the Central Bank of Russia. He noted that for several months, companies have been complaining about the inability to hire enough employees to meet demand. Putin's drive to enlist young working-age men into his personal campaign in Ukraine results only in turning the majority into disabled or disassembled men, incompatible with life, while he hides in a bunker surrounded by a personal army of minders. The growing number of single Russians could become an economic threat, the central bank believes. They are more likely to make impulsive purchases and are less inclined to save, which complicates the fight against inflation. Currently, more than 40% of households consist of one person. Their number has doubled since 2010, with the majority being war widows from Putin's special war operation on our neighbor. major Russian retailers have stopped pre-order sales of the PS5 Pro because gamers bought up the entire batch of consoles with an almost double markup. Each one costs 130,000 rubles instead of $700 in the US. The start of global sales of the PS5 Pro is scheduled for November 7th, and Sony will make a fortune in the Russian market. The ruble has only weakening ahead, claims an economist on Russian Telegram. The long-term trend towards weakening of the ruble will continue within each of the forecast scenarios under consideration, the IEF-RAS report says. Under the moderately pessimistic scenario, the ruble will fall to 160 rubles per dollar by 2030. The ruble will collapse not only against the dollar, but also to the currencies of friendly countries. Within the framework of a moderately pessimistic scenario, the real effective exchange rate of the ruble, the exchange rate of the ruble to a basket of currencies of states that are Russia's main trading partners, will fall to the levels of the second half of the 1990s by 2030. That's all for today, folks. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I also leave comments open for feedback, which I really appreciate. You can view my original posts in much more detail on Twitter. Follow me at beefeater_fella. My research threads also include full references and sources to speed up your own research. Did you know that I also provide daily updates and deep dive research videos on a range of interesting subjects including economics, geopolitics, sanctions, circumventions, fossil fuel updates, and much more. If you are able to support me with a coffee or subscription on Patreon, I do provide links in the description of the video. I really appreciate all the support I can get towards my research, equipment, and publication costs. Thank you. To those who have supported me on Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee, you are simply awesome. Your regular support is really appreciated. Remember, folks, the YouTube edition of my Russian Telegram chat translations is released every night at midnight UK time. Have a great day. I look forward to your next visit.